Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on The Flash Season 6, or, I don't know, what's 6 in Italian? Sucks? I don't know. Flash Season sucks. Let's continue. So if this video goes out when I want it to go out, The Flash will be back a week from tomorrow, exactly, and we have pretty much heard most things, if not everything, that the studio and I guess the people around the show, like involved with the show, want us to hear before seeing episode 1, even though I'm pretty sure and pretty confident there will be some like last minute things that are put up by some of the biggest sites like TV Line and TV Guide, all of them over the next upcoming weekend just before the show's there. I think they're doing like a preview thing, but keep your eyes out for that, I guess. But Discussing Film, who some of you might know from Twitter or on Twitter, did an interview with Eric Wallace, the new showrunner for this season of The Flash, which contained a lot of cool reveals and teasers for this season, as well as just some cool backstory to certain things related to the show. Now, the interview is about 40 minutes long. I think it's just shy of 40 minutes. It's all audio, so we'll leave a link in the description down below for those who want to listen to it in the background while you're like gaming or doing homework or practicing your new dance moves. Whatever you're doing, you can listen to it while you're doing that. But in this video, we will be going over the main points of interest, in my opinion, at least from the interview, and just give my thoughts and breaking them down if needed. Now, I'm not going to play the clips from the interview, as in some cases the audio related to a certain point, or a couple of points in the video that we'll go over can go for like 3 or 4 minutes. So this video, if I put them in there, would be like half an hour almost or something. I'm not going to make you sit through another half an hour video of me talking like an idiot. So I will just go over the topics by themselves that are brought up throughout the interview and just do what I said I was going to do before. But yeah, throughout the video, be sure to leave all of your various thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. What gets you interested? What are your different thoughts on certain things? Because some of this stuff that I will go over and I give my thoughts on is opinion based. So you might have a different opinion or a different theory. So let me know all of that in the comments section down below. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and you're excited from what you hear in this video, why not drop a like on it? Show your support and excitement and hype. So the first thing that was said by Eric Wallace is that Cisco's journey this season will be him rediscovering who he is as a person and whether you can be a hero without your powers. Now, in the interview, he doesn't really allude to Cisco getting his powers back. It's just more the fact that Cisco doesn't have his powers. Now, it is going to be interesting because I think that's probably the one thing that this season goes into, where it's like starting from like a couple of places behind, if you want to call it. Like if you're in a race, they're basically starting in second last place and they're trying to finish first with Cisco because of what happened last season and the workarounds they had to do with the character because of what could have potentially happened with the actor leaving. Now, I am interested to see where they go about this. I have heard that Cisco and Ralph, I think we've talked about this, have like the better story arcs for this season, or at least the opening half. So I'm interested to see where Cisco goes. Maybe there's like a Cisco-centric episode. I think it's episode 4 or 5. But yeah, I'm interested to see if they can make him, as interesting. Well, he was always interesting, even in season 1 when he didn't have his powers. So I think everyone's still going to like Cisco, even without his powers, because he didn't have them for the first season, and he was probably people's favorite character back then. So yeah, I don't think it'll be too hard to make him interesting, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, the Season 6 premiere will address and honour the death of Nora West Allen, with Episode 1 picking up 10 seconds after the Season 5 finale. Now, we already knew about that last part. Obviously, some interviews have said like 5 seconds, some have said 10, like this one. But in regards to addressing and honouring the death of Nora West Allen, that's pretty interesting because I think people were sort of confused at the end of last season where maybe they thought they should have done more in regards to that, and there was a deleted scene actually where it looked like Barry and Iris were going to the future to give Nora a tombstone or something, or honour her death in the future, but that was never in the episode. So maybe they might reuse that sort of idea in episode 1, or they're going to do a different way with it, or something different with it. But I'm not too surprised they're doing that, because if people thought it was odd that it wasn't at the end of last season, so people thought it might be at the beginning of this season. So yeah. The second half of Season 6, starting in Episode 10 after Crisis, will be its own self-contained story separate from the opening 8 episodes. Barry is changed after Crisis and is a game changer for him as a character and the show as a whole. We will see the characters deal with the effect of Crisis and the new quote-unquote status quo, with a villain to suit all of this and some new supporting characters to go along with this as well. So first off, thoughts. If you didn't know, this season's structure is basically 2 graphic novels separated by Crisis. So episodes 1 to 8 is the Bloodwork arc, or the Bloodwork graphic novel. Then we'll have the big Crisis event, and then episodes 10 through to 22 will be its own different story that is pretty much just starts off completely brand new as well, as if it's almost episode 1 of a season, and then we'll have its own villain that goes all the way to episode 22. I can't remember if specifically in the past if Eric has said, or anyone on the show has said, that we meet this new villain in episode 10, or it just starts to build up and we meet them in, say, episode 13 or something. He hasn't really said, or I don't think at least. But seeing as like the show as a whole has changed, and Barry as a character has changed completely by what happens in Crisis, gets me super interested. But also, like this new status quo, like what does that mean necessarily? Because Eric doesn't really give a point he's relating that to. He just pretty mentions it. He mentions it a bit a bit vaguely, if you want to call it. But I guess the big thing is like, who is this villain that's going to suit all this? Because, you know, they said that Bloodwork is a really suitable villain for Barry in the first half leading up to Crisis, and we sort of understand why that is now. But I wonder who the villain will be in the back half. Will it be a villain that sort of takes advantage of what's happened in Crisis, or something along those lines? Like, is it going to be Red Death? A lot of people think it's going to be Red Death, because he was teased. It's the only one that's been teased that could possibly show up. There are other couple of options. Like, I wouldn't do Cobalt Blue. I wouldn't do that at all. I think you can save that for another season. Maybe give him more time. Not even more time. That sounds a bit silly, but a better setting. I don't think Cobalt Blue after Crisis is the best way to go about it. But I think like Red Death could work. Obviously, the whole negative Flash thing, the Mina Darwan stuff has come up lately because of the filming for episode 8 and what we've seen on set there. I won't spoil that completely if you haven't seen it. You can go watch my video on it, which was my most recent video before this one if you want to go check out some stuff on that. But people are theorizing that. It could be someone else as well. But I'd be surprised if it isn't a speedster. I think it might be a speedster, especially if there's Barry's changed it as a whole. There might have to be like a sort of like a similar style, you know, villain in regards to powers and stuff, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, Iris' story will be very reporter heavy leading into Crisis, and in a bigger way in the back half. So it's going to be bigger than it is in the first half, which is weird because I think they do a lot leading up to Crisis. But yeah, now Iris will delve into the hidden secrets of Central City, the good and the bad, where we will meet new heroes and villains that have been around for a while that we just haven't met yet. Now, this is interesting that they're going to use Iris to delve into this, because I think that's something that Season 1 did really well, and they really used Season 1 obviously used Iris the best. They used her as like that eye into the public life, and I've said that before, that they've misplaced Iris after Season 1, and people accuse me of hating on the character. This is literally what I was telling them to go back to, and wanted them to go back to, and it took Eric Wallace to do it. So I'm a big fan of Eric Wallace already, because he knows where to put the certain characters, and this is where Iris needs to be in the reported landscape while being the eye to Central City, and he's put her there. Why did it take one dude to do that? Why couldn't people think that? Was it a room full of goddamn ants or something? Anyway, it's happened. So Iris is going back to this like eye to the city, or the eye for us as the viewer into Central City, which is great, and I can't wait to see what they do with that. Now, the Bloodwork arc will almost be like 23 episodes of a villain's ups and downs packed into 8 episodes, so it's jam-packed, telling the story in the moment rather than purposely, like, you know, on purpose, obviously, stretching it out to fit that larger amount of episodes. Now, Eric did use the Thinker arc as an example, where he said, look, Neil Sandiland was great as a thinker, but they had to stretch him out from episode 1 appearing there right to the end of episode 23, where he's still there, and it just gets a bit diluted in the middle, especially when he's swapping bodies, and we all agree with that. But he said, but if you condense that Thinker arc into like 8-10 episodes, it's amazing. And if you think about it, it is, because you get 10 episodes of Neil Sandiland as a thinker just messing with Barry and everything like that. So just think of that smushed in, and he uses like the Thinker as a big example, or a big similarity to Bloodworks arc. But yeah, I'm interested to see how they handle that, and I'm looking forward to just getting to the point. You know, getting to the point, just bam, bam, thank you, man. No filler episodes and stuff like that. Now, the new Harrison Wells has a mystery that will start to unveil in episode 6, leading into Crisis, and Tom Cavanagh's Pariah character, who we know he's playing there. I think that was announced at Comic-Con. Now, this will have a definite fallout that leads into the character that Tom Cavanagh will play in The Flash after Crisis, and this new Wells will be a more deeper and emotional Wells than we have seen in a while. Now, you know, it's sort of confusing where, like, once again, whenever they've mentioned this new Wells, they have been vague in regards to whether this new Wells that comes in becomes Pariah, or Pariah is a different character in its own. They've sort of been vague, and that continues on in this interview. But I am interested to see, like, we have to think that's the case. If you think he becomes Pariah, or something happens to him to the point where Tom would just go on to then play Pariah. I know, it's a bit confusing, but this basically means we're getting 3 new versions of Wells that we're going to spend a decent amount of time with. So That's pretty cool, I guess. But I wonder what they mean by deeper and emotional. Is he going to be crying all the time, or does he have like a bigger goal and a bigger mission that he really delves into? I have to wait and see. Original Team Flash, that of course being Barry, Cisco, and Caitlin, will have multiple moments between each other in Season 6, and there will be a specific moment in Crisis on Infinite Earths between these three characters that fans will enjoy, but Eric did note that Season 6 will mix up chemistry between the characters on the show. So by this, he essentially means that characters that you usually wouldn't see hanging out with another character will hang out. Now, we already know this is happening from set photos and even in the trailer that we got recently with Cisco and Iris. You hardly ever see those two characters hanging out. You're going to see that this season in some way. Ralph and Iris, maybe. Ralph and Caitlin already sort of did, but I think Ralph and Caitlin also is going to be a thing. And I don't know, what's another combination? Maybe, I guess it's really like maybe Caitlin and Iris, but they did stuff, I think, in previous seasons. I guess pretty much Iris and anyone on Team Flash, I guess, outside of Barry. So, yeah, we're going to see that. Now, this is the good thing that I can't wait to see them do in future seasons, that Eric did say that the new format for The Flash won't just be for this season. It's going to be happening for every season afterwards for as long as they go. And the new format will allow 2 big bads per season. So, a big bad for the first half of the season, 1 through to 8 or 9, depending on what the crossover is. And then a big bad for the last half of the season. So, this constant, 2-part or 2 graphic novel style for the season will continue, and I love that idea. Arrow did that really well Arrow basically did it in season 2, and I've always said that that's the model that the shows should use. You have that villain for the first half, and then it leads into the second half where there's a different villain. And Arrow season 2 is arguably the best Arrowverse season in regards to just being consistent and everything being watchable. So they should have done that a while ago, but once again, Eric Wallace, he seems to be a genius. He's doing everything that the fans want to see and that we've been asking for years. Now, one episode in The Flash Season 6 will be quote-unquote Flash Light and be driven by another character completely. Nothing the show has really done before, which you could argue maybe the Run Iris Run episode could have been, but I think it was just more an episode that was focused on Iris, but it wasn't driven by Iris. You know what I mean? So Run Iris Run, sorry, is probably the episode closest to that, I think. I can't think of another one that's like focused on a character so much. But I think with this episode, it is the Ralph Dibny driven episode, which is episode 6, which is License to Elongate, where it looks like Ralph is driving that episode, and everything that gets pushed forward is directly by him, and the Flash or Barry is just a side character in that episode. So I think that's pretty much the episode he's referring to there. The other option is that it could be the Cisco episode, which is episode 4 or 5 or something, where Breacher comes in. That could be the other option there, but I think it's probably the Ralph episode. And the last thing to go over from the interview with Eric was Wally West and Jay Garrick will be back this season. We already knew that, but possibly not in the way that fans might expect. So don't make any assumptions. Now, with Wally West, I don't think this might be referring to him. I think Wally is going to come in as we normally would see him. But Jay Garrick's thing, I think this interview might have been done before that new trailer dropped. Because in that trailer, you see Jay Garrick there and he's got the helmet and everything like that. And we know that's actually Jay's helmet and that Jay's present when Barry's putting it on. So maybe he has something to do with the Crisis or something along those lines. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's Wally West is the, not to expect there. I think it's more Jay Garrick and he's like maybe ties to Crisis. But yeah, if you have any other different thoughts on that and where that could go, let me know in the comments. But yeah, guys, that's it for, I guess, the main things I wanted to extract from that interview. If you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we went over and your different thoughts and theories and stuff on the different points. Be sure to go check out the interview if you want to listen to all of it. There's a lot of stuff I missed out because, as I said, it went for almost 40 minutes. So you might want to go check it out when you have some time. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.